Thank you for joining me tonight in this beautiful weather we have, good old Florida weather. What we're going to do tonight is a little different step from the first 3 weeks that we trained on. We started with principles of partnership selling, face-to-face aggressive selling, how to understand how your person you're trying to sell to perceives and receives your information. And from there we did setting goals and timelines to establish the goals. We spoke about strategies. We spoke about tactics. We spoke about costs and resources to be able to accomplish our goals. And from there, we went into negotiating skills and communication. Communication on how to talk to people, how to ask questions, and how to negotiate to close the deal. Today, we're going to take a different spin. We're going to take everything we learned for the first 3 weeks and we're going to close our eyes. Not really, but in essence, we're going to work with some other tool. We're going to work with the phone, okay? That phone, which most of us basically look at and don't even remember. Anybody remember what a phone looks like? Anybody remember what they used for? Other than texting? Other than emails? They are a good way of reaching people. They are a good resource of talking to people and being able to communicate. Unfortunately, today, we don't remember how to speak on the phone. And what the phone can do for us is help us reach our goals, reach more closes quicker than anything else. Years ago, it was the only tool. I remember, I'm going to do that walk in the snow with shoes on and all that. No, I'm not doing that. But I had booths where I had to put coins, freezing my whatever off in New York City where the booth was only half high, so the half was protected and the bottom part wasn't, throwing coins in there just to be able to talk to somebody on the phone. Nobody does that anymore. There aren't even any telephone booths to do that anymore. We're working on cell phones, but we're not even using the cell phones to communicate. We're only using them to text and to email. Now, emails, 80–90% of all emails end up in a spam filter. So it's not too aggressive, it doesn't work very well. And text messaging today, which seems to be a great resource, is being calculated as a big spam as well. So people aren't responding to that. So how do you get in front of people today? You pick up that phone again, because we're making a complete cycle. The cycle is that we went from technology back to the good old phone. Sure, the phones are cuter, bigger. A friend of mine just bought a phone. It's very funny, the phone was that big. We started first with these big bricks. Anybody remember the brick?
Yeah.
Right?
Motorola.
Motorola brick.
Right.
Huge phone, you had to hire somebody to carry it for you. It was tremendous, you know, it covered your entire half a face as you called on it. But the reception analog was outstanding. Outstanding, but you carried this phone with you. You had to have a bag, just carry your phone. And you had this phone and you were talking to people, and it was great. And then you went to a smaller device, and you went to a device that had a keyboard that you had to open up, and you open it, you close it, you made it small and small and small. Now we're going the other way again. Yeah. Now we're going bigger again, and it's bigger again. Same thing we did with laptops. We went to iPads, now we're going back to laptops, back to the 17-inch. Now people are carrying bigger laptops. When I was starting out in technology, the portable laptop was a 90-pound compact, a box that looked like a suitcase. Okay? It's a complete cycle, guys. So don't forget what brought us here, and we're going to go back to what brought us here and try to become better at it again. Using the phone as a sales tool, as a powerful sales tool. Anybody remember what that looks like? What is that? You remember what that is? Even with a rotary? Yeah. Grandma's, right. You can't, anybody have one in the house anymore? Anybody own it? You still have one?
Well, it's not usable, but yeah, I can.
Oh, I thought you had the one with the crank on the wall?
Actually, for hurricanes.
Just in case?
Hurricane box, I can plug it into the...
Right. I have the one with the crank. Still.
I don't have one.
Millie, are you there? Yeah. It's a different type of thing. Today we're not going to do wild witticisms. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We got one. One is set up more appointments, spend less time, and close more deals. That's today's witticisms. All right. Basically, we're talking about making more money. Now, if you closed your eyes for a second, and you listened to what I was saying, listen to my voice, close your eyes for a second, and listen to my voice, and listen to the way I'm delivering this message. Now open your eyes again, and listen to the way I'm delivering this message. Do you see any difference? Did your senses take over, and did you hear better with your eyes closed? Or did you more respond to my emotions and my movements with my hand movements and my tonation, facial, looking at me, more than you did when your eyes were closed? The skills of being able to hear people on the phone are powerful. Years ago, I was a commodity trader, and they taught me, do not even talk into the receiver, don't even listen. Turn it upside down and just talk. And I said, you can't do that. You can't hear what the person's saying. They said, we're not interested in hearing what the person's saying. We're interested in closing them. Well, that's old-time peddler sales tools. What we want to do is we want to hear what people are saying. We want to grasp what they're asking for. We want to listen to their buying signals, and they will give us buying signals. Every person will give us a buying signal if we're not talking through their buying signals. So, what we're going to try to do today is build trust and respect with customers and colleagues. Now, for some of you that have been here the last 3 weeks, you're going to say some of this is redundant. It seems that way, but if you do it on the phone, it's totally different. Because the objective here is to make you more powerful, set up more appointments, and close more deals without leaving your homes, without leaving your offices, without putting on, well, I'm saying without putting on clothes, but that, I think everybody should do that. Warm up your sales approach to improve success with cold calling and appointment setting. I walked into an insurance company. They said, my salespeople are fabulous. They're fantastic. And I said, okay, what's your pain? He says, they don't see enough people. They don't go out to enough people. Their pain is they don't set enough appointments. But when they do, they're great. Well, again, we go back to that's the best sale nobody ever made. Because if they're not seeing enough people, they're not closing any deals. So they needed to be taught how to use the phone again. The phone, to get on a phone and say, I'd like to speak to you, I'd like to come meet with you, I'd like to tell you about my products, I'd like to find out what your needs are, and then follow up with this powerful tool and say, let's get you started. But when you're doing that, you can't see the motions and the signals of the person. You basically have to be a better listener. And we're going to go over that today. Identify ways to make positive and exciting impression on the people you're talking to. You're going to identify negotiation strategies that'll make you a stronger seller. We're going to create a small script to maximize the efficiencies on the phone, and we're going to learn what to say and what to ask to create interest, handle objections, and close the deal. Remember, it's all about what they hear and how you say it. And we're going to find out how you guys respond. So let's talk about this a little bit. I want to go around the room. How many sales calls do each of you guys make? How many do you call? 60? Let me throw this down here. So 60 sales calls a day, right?
Yep.
Okay. How about your business? You make a lot of calls at all?
Not a lot.
You do most of your business with networking?
Most of it with networking, but you're still calling people to try
So
and
what
set
do you do on a
appointments.
daily call?
5 to 10.
All right, let's put down 10. Give you the benefit of the doubt. How about you guys?
Probably about 10.
10? And
20.
you? 20? She's working hard.
We're in different departments.
Oh, there you go.
I want her already.
Ben?
Under 5.
Under 5?
Yep.
Okay. But you're dealing with your marketing to try to go to a web presence.
Correct.
So it's a little different. Hold on a second.
I don't really make sales calls per se. It's informational calls.
But you're making calls.
Yes.
You're communicating information with people. How many of those do you make a day?
Probably 15 to 20.
All right, let's put down 20.
About 30?
30? Yours?
7.
7? That's what happens when you're boss man. You have people do it for you. How many do you make it for?
Actually, I assist him. So
You make 3 of those 7?
Yeah, exactly.
I do more follow-ups and appointments.
How many contacts do you make daily?
I'd say about 7.
That's 7. That's a lucky number. Not really, because if you're only making 7, it's a very unlucky number. Ben? Ben, I'm calling you.
I'm not sure really.
You're not sure?
Under 5.
And you're a different business also. But Vincenzo making 5, again, it's a matter of, well, I don't do that kind of thing, but it just goes back to, again, how many contacts we're making with people. Contacts don't only be by the phone. We could be making contacts with marketing. Exactly. But once you make the marketing, shouldn't you follow up?
Yes.
We're forgetting about that. We're trying to let the marketing do it for us a lot today, and it's not working as well. Ross?
75 plus.
Ross makes 75 a day.
You do? Well, that's part of the requirement.
And then that one person says, "Stop calling me already."
Other
Well,
than,
because they say text me. When I call, they say text me.
other than your girlfriends, how many do you
There
make?
you go. Well, mine are mostly follow-up. I have face-to-face, and then I like 30, 40. I mean,
Okay, we'll put out 40.
what hours are you talking about? It's
Well,
as a normal work.
well, no, because remember, we're not talking about, we look at this as being salespeople. I don't make that many qualifying calls, but each of us, when we talk to individuals, maybe in a customer service role or even in a pure sales role, it's all the same. We're communicating some part of information, and that information leads to some kind of return on investment or some kind of dollar amount. So if you're looking over here, these are the numbers we're doing on sales calls. How many calls do you consider successful? Anybody? We got the numbers on the wall. What do you think would be successful?
5 a day, that would be pipeline, that would be follow-up, or that want to think about or
Yeah.
look at our materials. 5 a day are prospects, pipeline.
5 to call?
Out of my 70 a day of new
No,
prospects,
but
five
we're not doing that yet. We're talking about how many of these calls you consider successful, you're saying? Your
I want
report?
to say that 5
All
a
right.
day.
So you're saying out of your 75, you have 5 good ones.
They come into pipeline and follow.
Well, what's the
Out of 60 calls, how many are good ones?
I would say max probably 10.
10. That's not a bad percentage. And out of the 10 and 20 you guys are doing?
I'd say at least half.
So 5? And same to you?
Yeah.
10?
Probably 5.
5? So working on 50% a little bit
But a
over there?
lot, but they're not cold calls. They're not all, they're people that,
Well, let's establish what we consider to be what a successful call is. Okay? Is a successful call somebody who can buy from us? Is a successful call somebody who will refer us to somebody who might buy from us? Or is a successful call following up with somebody who might be a potential customer from us in the future? What is a successful call? And what is a non-successful call, which we're adding into these numbers here, but not achieving anything? What's a non-successful call? What's a non-qualified call, if we clarify that a little better?
I think any call that builds a relationship is a successful call.
Can be. And of course, it's a matter of how we follow up with that call to generate or to turn it into something that's substantial, that turns into an opportunity. We joke about networking events, or as I call them, not working events. Because we go out and we speak to a lot of people, and we speak to the same people over and over and over again, and we deliver a message to them. Hey, yeah, how you doing? How's your business? Here's my business. Fine, take it easy. I'll see you next week or in 2 weeks. But never are we getting closer to doing business with these people. And this goes on week after week after week after week. So what's the value of that event? If you're not walking out of a networking event with 3 appointments to talk about business, maybe their business, maybe your business, what's the purpose of a networking event? And what's the purpose of making calls if the objective is not to be in a position where we're talking about possibly some kind of solution? If you're a customer service person, it's maybe protecting an account. If you're a salesperson, it's setting up an appointment to talk about what you're doing. We're not talking about selling yet, guys. We're talking about establishing the groundworks for making sales. Because if we don't do this, we don't have the benefits of a sale later. What are the criteria for success? As I mentioned before, what's your criteria? What do you consider criteria when you call somebody for success?
If I can get an appointment, if I can talk to a decision maker, if I can build some kind of rapport over the phone, we start talking and laughing, if there's a possibility of a referral, so all that that is getting a little bit.
Do any of us find a great response when somebody doesn't hang up on us, yell at us, or be negative to us? We consider that to be a successful call. Right? Let me call this guy back. He's the nicest guy there is. Let me tell you a story. I was selling commodities, and I had this guy, very old man. I called him up, and I was learning. I was a young kid, and I was learning. And I'd call him up, and I'd say, John, tremendous thing happened in the Middle East. There was an explosion. There's oil all over the place. The price of oil per barrel is going up, and if you take a position today, you could double your money. John said to me, great, Jan, give me a call back tomorrow. I said, nice guy. I'll sell him. I'm going to call him back tomorrow. So I called him back the next day. And I said, John, what position you want to take? You're losing out on this great opportunity. Hey, it sounds great. Call me back next week. Got to get some things in order. So I called him back next week. And he says, fantastic, fantastic. But I really got to think about it a little bit. Can you call me back at the end of this week? So I called him back at the end of this week. And my supervisor heard me. And he said, you're not going to sell this guy. This guy's not buying from you. He's a nice guy who can't say no. And because he's not saying no, you have positioned yourself, you have camped right in front of this person as a guy who's being nice to you, because when these other 50 or 60 or 80 people a day are being mean to you, you don't want to call them, so you got a nice guy, okay? All right, so he says, try this. Try to close him or burn him, turn him or burn him. So I called him up and I said, John, you got to make a decision today. It only cost you $50,000. You put it in an envelope. He said, Jan, I'm so old, I don't buy green bananas. This guy was 92 years old. He was never going to buy from me. Loved to hear from me. He had nothing to do. He was sitting in front of his chair waiting for me to call when I called. It was basically his life, and allowed him to be happy. I was making him happy, so I felt good about that. But I sure wasn't bringing any money home, and my wife didn't feel good about that. All right? But I called him because he was nice. Anybody get into that position where they call people who just don't say no? Right? Over and over again? Okay, we do that all the time. We get involved in a comfortable position and we call people who can't deliver value to us. Don't do that. Turn them or burn them. Ask them a value question. If there's a way we can make a decision that has value to you, can we move forward? And if they say to you, yes, you have an opportunity. And if they say to you, no, don't call them the next day because they're nice or because you've been talking about sports and your team won. This is a waste of effort and time, and we're about time. So when we're looking at the amount of calls, what we really need to look at is, are we reaching enough qualified people? And if we're not making enough calls.